Hello everybody and welcome to today's episode of the Pritchard Cycling News Show. We're going for an outdoor special on this one. Hopefully we're not even going to mention indoor training, the Z word or any online training platforms. It's all going to be about the outdoor real life world in cycling today. Are you ready? Alright, before we get into the show, I did promise that we're not going to talk about anything indoor related. However, this needs to be shown. So we've seen drills on cranks, we've seen people manipulating data to be able to change their riders' speed on Zwift. We've also seen people jumping on motorbikes, on rollers. But this takes cheating on Zwift to a whole new level.
Rulli, Zwift, troppa fatica ragazzi. Allora sai come si fa? Cadenza. Inquadra qui, cadenza, velocità, vieni, inquadra me e qui, e anche lo schermo devi inquadrare, Guarda là, 4,60, 500 watt! Ah, tutto un altro andare, vieni! 8 watt e 3, vieni! Buona e finita la fatica, vi batto tutti ora! 5,39 fissi, 8 watt e 2!
Alright, first news story up, and over the weekend we saw a Spanish paper releasing potentially the new look World Tour calendar for this year. I'm not going to lie, I was a bit excited when I actually read that. But if it goes ahead as scheduled in this document, we're going to see racing start on the 1st of August. Yes, and it's going to start with Strade Bianche. So you can see here, this is the unofficial plan that was leaked by Spanish newspaper AS, and it was published on their website over the weekend. And this is likely to be the race schedule. There is an update, an official update coming from the UCI on Tuesday, hopefully, if they don't delay it again. But this, so far, is the best idea we've got as to what racing is going to be taking place during 2020. So as you can see from this document, 1st of August, Strade Bianche takes place. The following week, we have Milan-San Remo. Not much else going on there in terms of single day races apart from potentially the Nationals. I believe they are NC and NF. They're going to be the Nationals, and then you've got GP Plouay as well on Tuesday the 25th by the looks of it. You've also got a couple of stage races in there, Tour of Poland and the Dauphiné. But then the big one, Tour de France. It was already postponed. We covered that in the news a couple of weeks ago, I think now. Tour de France is supposed to start on Saturday, the 29th of August and run all the way through to the 20th of September. You can see right in the middle of that, Tirreno Adriatico. So another stage race is going to be taking part exactly the same time as the Tour de France. But not only that, you've also got to take into consider races that haven't been added to this calendar. One of them is the Tour of Britain, which is supposed to be taking place September the 6th to September the 13th. And if that's the case, you're going to have Tour de France, Tirreno Adriatico, and the Tour of Britain all taking place at the same time. But how is that going to work? I have no idea. Potentially, they might look to postpone the Tour of Britain and push that further back, but there's really nowhere else where they can put it. So if Tour of Britain goes ahead as planned, you might not see any World Tour teams there. They'll all be too busy at the Tour de France. They'll all be too busy at Tirreno Adriatico. So what kind of a Tour of Britain are we going to see this year? Is it going to be a Tour of Britain where we see potentially one of the British teams win it? We've not had that for a long time. When was the last time that happened? Endura? John Tiernan Locke? I could be wrong, but someone check that out and leave a comment down below. But yeah, potentially we might see a very, very thin-looking Tour of Britain. But could that be a good thing for the British riders? The British teams at the minute are having zero exposure out there. They're not giving any return of investment to their sponsors. Potentially a Tour of Britain without those big names there might be exactly what these smaller teams need to be able to get that extra exposure, to get those victories, to get themselves on the podiums, to get themselves in front of the TV cameras, which will appease those sponsors and actually make it a fairly decent year in terms of exposure for them. I don't know. It's just a thought. I was just thinking Tour of France, Tirreno Adriatico and Tour of Britain all going off at the same time. What do you think is going to happen there? Leave your comments down below. So pretty much the whole of September is taken up, obviously, by the Tour of France. Then we've got, I don't know what Mondials is. Mondials. Let's Google that. World Jiu-Jitsu Championships. What? Mundiales. Oh wait. All right, World Cup. No, that don't make sense either. Worlds. So if you go back to Nationals up in August, Nationals NC I presume is the start and NF is the finish of the Nationals. Same here with MC and MF. Start of the Worlds, end of the Worlds. Straight after that you've got the Bink Bank Tour that no one really cares about anyway. I mean, if you do, I apologise, but it was a bloody dangerous one last year. Anyway, Flèche Wallonne, Liège, Bastogne-Liège, Amstel, followed by Gante, which I presume is Ghent-Wevelgem. Then you've got 2 Tour of Flanders. Please, someone explain that to me. I'm sure it's simple. Like, one's Tour of Flanders, one's Ronde van Vlaanderen, but I thought they were both this. I don't bloody know. There's 2 races taking part in Flanders. All right? So quite a few of the one-day races going off in October. You've also got that, you can see there, the Vuelta a España. That's reduced down to 18 stages now. But you'll notice that all of those classics and a part of the Vuelta a España overlap the Giro d'Italia, which is supposed to start on the Saturday, the 3rd of October, and run all the way to the Sunday on the 25th of October. But then, during La Vuelta, you also have Paris-Roubaix at the 1st of November, finishing the season off at Lombardia on the 14th of November. So there you go, we're trying to fit a year's worth of racing essentially into 4 months. You've got races, overlapping races everywhere. You've got 4 or 5 classics overlapping the Giro. You've got the Giro overlapping the Vuelta. You've got the Vuelta overlapping the Paris-Roubaix. You've got Tour de France overlapping Treno Adriatico and potentially Tour of Britain. What kind of a season are we going to see? I mean, leave your comments down below. I've not really got any questions. There's too many questions, but just give me your thoughts down below on this new look season for 2020. Next up, and one rider who's probably been secretly pleased that this whole lockdown period has happened is Chris Froome. It allows him more time to recuperate, more time to recover, and more time to get himself back in shape for this year's Tour de France if it goes ahead. He was talking to Kevin Peterson in an Instagram interview over the weekend, and well, he's not too sure if the Tour de France is going to go ahead in the first place.
It's getting ready for the Tour de France if it does happen this year.
Do you think the Tour will happen? I know it's been delayed. They cancelled all the football in France, and I know we've had a chat offline. You're not so sure, or you think the Tour will happen?
Yeah, it's a good question. I mean, it's been postponed already until the end of August, starting at the end of August, going through September. But I think everyone's just waiting to see if it is actually going to happen or not. I mean, it's going to be a big ask. I mean, there's a lot of moving parts in a race like the Tour de France. You just think of the thousands of people who are actually involved with the running of it. And then the hundreds of thousands of millions of spectators who would normally come out and watch as well. So it's going to be a tricky one.
So link down in the description to this interview if you want to check out the whole interview with Kevin Peterson. But obviously, as you'd expect, the subject of doping came up. And not only that, but Kevin Peterson alluded to the fact that Lance Armstrong had decimated the sport. Leave your comments down below on that one. Was it Lance Armstrong that decimated the whole sport? Was it him that gave the whole sport a bad name? Leave your comments down below. Anyway, Chris Froome had this to say on the subject.
How many years do you think Armstrong messed up cycling for? Because, I mean, I'm sitting here now, I used to love it, absolutely love it. But when I saw you geezers going up some of those mountains in France faster than I could drive a Ferrari, I mean, I was just like, no. Jesus. How long do you think he harmed the sport for?
I mean, we're still having to justify ourselves. I mean, even that we're having this conversation now.
Yeah.
I mean, this is 15 years on at least, and we're still talking about it. So I mean, it has had a lot of damage. That era has obviously damaged the sport to a great extent. But I really do believe that the sport has turned the page now. And I mean, I don't believe I'd have been able to win 4 Tour de France's if it hadn't changed. So I mean, I genuinely do feel the sport's in a great place now.
I ain't defending Armstrong. What he did was wrong. However, what led him to that position was all the years of doping previously to him. We're talking 40, 50, 60 years of doping prior to him deciding to do what he did. So yes, he took it to another level. Yes, he did things that no one else did or thought about. But everything that came before that allowed him to feel that he was justified in what he did. But then we look at this era, and Froome says it's cleaner than it ever has been. But we're going to look back at this moment here and the likes of the Jiffy bag, the inhalers, the suspect TUEs. We're going to look back on this. And although you might not class it as cheating, it certainly is bending the rules to the point where they're almost snapping. And it's in the greyest of grey areas. However, it's still on the right side of what you would class as cheating. Are we going to look back at this in 10 years' time and say that has tarnished the sport as well? I don't know, but an interesting piece nonetheless. If you're a fan of Chris Froome, I mean, who isn't, apart from those people that say he's a cheat, go down into the link in the description. The people who hate him will probably want to go and watch it anyway and leave some mean comments. So links down in the description to that interview. Let me know what you think to what Chris Froome had to say about Lance Armstrong. Next up, Nairo Quintana has bloody won something for once. Yeah, that's right. Nairo Quintana secures Colombian pros the right to train outside. So Quintana made a direct request to the Colombian government to allow pros to be able to train outside, and he was on Instagram Live with Ernesto Lucena, the Minister of Sports, which ended with Lucena making a commitment that all riders who carry a UCI license would be allowed to train on road. So Colombia has been similar to other countries with complete lockdowns, only allowing people out for provisions, for emergencies, not to exercise or anything like that. They relaxed that rule and allowed people to start exercising, but only for an hour. And now Nairo Quintana has basically said, it's what we need, it's what we want, give it to us. And the sports minister has given it to them. So if they're carrying a UCI license, they can go and ride as they please. So fair play, Nairo. Fair play to the Colombian government as well for allowing that. But this story here, this brings me back to the UCI calendar and how the races are going to pan out. So you've got there over in Colombia, riders who have had to be housebound, have been locked down pretty severely. And then over here in the UK, you've got people who are allowed to exercise once in a day, but for them, once constitutes 6 hours training. Then you've got Froome, for instance, who's locked down in France and he's not allowed to go out. So all his training's been done on the turbo. Nairo Quintana, again, locked down, but now able to go outside and train. Riders in Italy potentially might be out in the next couple of days. So what you've got is you've got riders coming into the season at totally different levels of preparation. Riders who have been able to sustain real hard effort on the turbo trainer. Riders who have been able to get out onto the road and train more like they would if they were in a race. Then you've got riders who potentially can't handle, and maybe they shouldn't be pros if they can't handle it, but maybe not necessarily training as hard as they would on the turbo trainer if they were out on the road. And obviously you've got riders who just aren't racing. They're putting no race miles in their legs. So how everyone's going to arrive at August is beyond me. What kind of shape they're all going to be in compared to each other is just, are riders going to be an advantage? Are riders going to be a disadvantage? Or are they all professional enough to have done exactly what they needed to make sure that they turn up fit, healthy and well and ready to go come the 1st of August? And that's your news for today. It's been pretty nice actually talking about anything other than indoor cycling related news. So thanks UCI for putting out that calendar. I'll give you an update on all those news stories as they come out. Until then, hit that like button, hit that subscribe button, hit that notification bell. If you've not enjoyed anything from today, for whatever reason, hit that dislike button. But above all, leave those comments down below. Till tomorrow, thanks for watching. I'll see you there.